Wait, is it pieces this section?
Giants.
We're missing Isabel over there, right?
Yeah, Isabel, Medina.
And that is like the only person we're missing. Awesome. Okay, so guys, about 3 more minutes on bell work, and then we're gonna get started, okay?
They just don't.
You okay, Zeke? All right, my dears, everybody good to go?
Why am I?
Yeah. Okay, so yesterday we did thesis statements. And we're going to now be elaborating on that a little bit, okay? By doing the full introduction. It's a little crooked, isn't
Yeah, it's a little quick, man.
it? Thank you, Zane. So we're gonna have more practice today with writing the thesis statements also. And then I really told you yesterday, one of the biggest questions I always get with essays is about the thesis statement and the introduction. Everybody stresses out about writing introductions. Well, what do I put in there? So hopefully after today, you'll feel a little stronger. So I want all earbuds out, phones 2 corners of desks, and Chromebooks shut at least halfway. Awesome. So I gave you an introduction, a very short one, to kind of evaluate for me. So it says the subject of my report has to do with how learning is affected by the number of students in a classroom. The paper will be about, sorry, I couldn't read it. This thing is so hard to get exactly right. Yeah, I know. Will be about what I have learned in algebra class about how bad this situation is and what can be done. Why can't they hire more teachers? I don't want my algebra grade to be bad because of this. So, first of all, what do you think the thesis would be? Or do you think it even has one? So it doesn't have what we would consider a good thesis after yesterday. But does it have something that maybe is trying to be a thesis? Dylan?
Why can't they hire more teachers?
Oh, I didn't even consider that. Maybe, yeah. Because that's trying to make a point, right? About maybe a solution to a problem. If not, like the one that stuck out to me was the first sentence. The subject of my report has to do with how learning is affected by the number of students in the classroom. That's the one I actually focused on as a thesis. Did anybody else see anything else? So I think you all agreed that this intro was terrible?
Yeah.
Or did anybody think it was okay? Richard, take out your earbuds. Yeah,
Like, I know there's something wrong with it, I just couldn't really identify it.
okay. But still it felt wrong to you, right? And it is hard to identify what's exactly wrong with it. As you saw, Dylan and I both got totally different points out of it. I thought it was trying to talk about the effect of too many students in the classroom, and he thought it was a call to action to hire more teachers. How do we solve this problem? Which are two totally different essays, okay? It's really bad. It's all over the place. It makes, I think, every mistake that you can think of. And so I did do for you guys to start us out a little bit better version of it. And we're going to be referring back to this as we look at each part of an intro, okay? By no means is this a perfect intro, but it has the parts it's supposed to, okay? And I went with the main idea, the claim that I thought was trying to be demonstrated in the first intro we read. So I started out with the algebra teacher looked at the class as he explained factoring. He saw 32 faces. Some were frowning and confused, while others looked bored and irritated. His 32 students represented a great range of needs. How could he meet them all? This is a growing problem in the United States as school attendance rises and less people enter the teaching profession. Classroom overcrowding results in students receiving a low grade education because teachers do not have the time to fulfill the educational needs of students. So I went with the effects of it instead of solutions like Dylan talked about. Okay, so we're gonna, like I said, keep referring back to this as I go through the parts. So introductions, as you know, are very important, and lots of people agonize over them. They're the first impression you give your reader. So think about like, cause it's the same thing. Think about when you go to a movie. If the first few minutes of the movie do not capture your attention, don't you usually feel an urge to walk out? At home, like if I'm watching a movie or you guys like, let's say a YouTube video, and if the first few minutes don't capture your attention, I mean, most people X out, right? Or turn the TV off or change the channel. Same thing is going to happen with an essay. So you want to try to interest your reader into reading it while introducing your topic, your purpose, and your claim. So there essentially are three parts of an introduction. The first part, just like when we did persuasive essays, is the attention grabber. You want to have something there having to do with your topic that's going to try to grab attention. And there's a variety of ways you can do it. I think I give you guys 6. So what I started out with in my revised introduction was a vivid description. So I described a scenario with an algebra teacher in order to hopefully draw a reader in and make them wonder what the heck is she talking about. Another way that you can start is with a quotation. And in this case, if I were going to start the overcrowded classroom one with a quotation, I could use like this: the single most important factor in teaching is class size, says experienced third grader teacher Carolyn Smith. Another way would be with an intriguing fact. This is actually one of my favorite ways to start intros, because as you're researching a topic, sometimes you come across a really cool, interesting fact, but it doesn't really support any of your main points, so you can't use it in the body of your essay. So the intro is a really good way to be able to use it as an attention grabber. So for our topic, if I had started the intro with an attention grabber, I might have said enrollment in our school has increased by a whopping 20% in just 5 years. This means that teachers who once had classes of 25 children now must teach 30 or more. And a lot of times to your topic, if you're going to go with a quotation, usually you want to try to like pick numbers that are a little bit more shocking to prove your point. You can also pose a question to your reader, or just in general. And I think I did that too, didn't I, on our example? As part of the description? Yeah, how could he meet them all? So how could he meet all the needs of the students, right? So that was kind of a combo grabbing attention. You can address the reader directly. And if I had done that here, I could say, if you believe that smaller classes don't make a difference to quality of education, you should take my smart, friendly, but definitely overworked algebra teacher. That's just an example. And then also one of my other favorite ways to do it is with an anecdote. What's an anecdote? Do you guys remember? Nobody remembers what an anecdote is?
Isn't it like agreeing but disagreeing at the same time? Like you say, yeah, that is true, but I don't know what that is.
No, I know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
that's something.
An anecdote's just a little story.
Yeah, no, that's something else.
Remember we went over it when we did persuasive essays. So you can start with a little story. And this is especially effective when you're doing persuasion. Because especially if you're trying to convince somebody that something's cruel or something like that, you can start off with a sob story example. Just imagine a little lonely dog abandoned by his family, blah blah blah. Okay, and so for ours, I said when I walked into my algebra class, I discovered that I had to share a table with 3 other students since our classroom had run out of desks. Our teacher explained that the class, which normally holds 25 students, would have 32 this year, and then we'd have to make 2. And then that acts as a perfect lead-in. Also keep in mind that you need to consider when you're considering what type of attention grabber to choose, you need to consider what your purpose is, because certain ones work better with certain purposes. And then you also need to consider who your audience is. If you're writing something that's geared at little kids, usually a story is going to work better, or an interesting fact even is going to work better than a quote. Yes? They're going to be more wowed by that. So thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you guys understand so far about attention grabbers? Ryan, please put the markers away. Don't focus with this, okay? Okay, awesome sauce. So let's go to the second part. The second part, I think, is the one that you guys have even most trouble with. And this is the background transitional information. All this is some general background information about your topic that helps you transition to your thesis. In the case of our example, the part that's the transition, the background, is that this is a growing problem in the United States as school attendance rises unless people enter the teaching profession. that right there is background information. That's just some general overview information about my topic. So, in a way, approach it like if somebody was asking you what your topic is, what you're writing about, that first general stuff that you start out with would be your background transitional information. And usually you just want to put like 1 or 2 sentences. You don't necessarily need to go on and on. And then of course we end with our thesis, our sneak preview. Remember, always try to keep the thesis and sneak preview to 1 sentence. It helps ensure that it is clear and concise, and only includes the information that it needs to. And also, usually, even though some teachers will tell you otherwise, make sure that your thesis statement is the last sentence of the introduction. This is just the best formatting to follow. Are there cases where it can go someplace else? Yes, but if you really don't know what you're doing with it, it can make your intro really weird to put it someplace else. So I always tell students, just put it at the end of the intro. That's the best place for it. Even when you're in college, trust me. Keep it nice and simple, follow the format, it works. Okay? So let's go over one more example. So this is the type thing, you guys are going to be doing a group practice with writing an introduction. And you're basically going to be given a writing prompt, which is similar to the one I have up here, okay? And you're going to fill in the parts of attention getter, background, transition, and then a thesis statement, okay? So on these, just so you know, I think it's easier if you start with your thesis statement, because then you've identified your topic and claim. So then you can better decide on what type of attention getter to use. So my prompt is to write an introduction for an essay that discusses the benefits of being a teacher. So my topic here is what? Anais, what do you think?
Say again.
Well, we're just reading the prompt. What's my topic on that prompt up there?
If one of the benefits being a teacher.
Benefits of being a teacher, so good things about being a teacher, right? And that also ends up, in this case, being part of my claim, because I'm going to be talking about positive effects of becoming a teacher, of being a teacher, okay? So let's just jump down really quick to my thesis statement, since that's how I approach it. I said being a teacher has many benefits that make the job worthwhile, okay? So my topic there is being a teacher and has many benefits that make the job worthwhile is my claim. And then my sneak preview is including connecting with students and having summers off. So that lets me know I'm going to talk about those 2 things as benefits. And don't get me wrong, there are a gazillion other benefits, but when I did this, I wanted to keep it simple, okay? So that indicates at least 2 body paragraphs with at least 1 each talking about each of those. Brian, if you don't put it in, you can pay attention here. So I, with this, for attention getter, went with a vivid description, okay? Imagine going to work in the morning and being greeted by 30 energetic, smiling people asking how was your weekend. And then I said, who wouldn't want a job like that? So then I also posed a question. Like I said, I always kind of like to do combos with it. And then for background transition, I said this is only part of what being a teacher is like. True teachers receive low pay and have long work hours, but the good things outweigh the bad. So that's my background transitional information. Just some nice generic information, general information that is associated with being a teacher. And that's the thing that people always talk about, right? Teachers don't make enough money, it's not worth it because the hours you have to work. So I just kind of threw that in there and then bounced off of it with my thesis statement. Okay? So you are now in your groups going to be doing the same thing. Each group has a different prompt, and you're going to need to write the full introduction for it. Okay? So let's do 4 fingers. 4 fingers if you understand and can teach it to somebody else. 3 if you understand, 2 if you kind of, 1 if you don't at all. Hold them up high because remember I'm short. I was gonna say, Zeke, you gotta commit one or the other. Okay. So I'm going to pass this out for you real quick. Like I said, each group has a different topic. Dylan, you're gonna work over here. Brian, you're going to work with Joseph and Isaiah. Brian, I've asked you 3 times to put the markers away. You do not put them away in your backpack, they become mine. And then Richard, you're gonna go up with Zeke and Anais and Melanie. Thank you, dear. Joseph, Isaiah, you have to communicate together on this.
Yeah, man. Communication fails. I'm sitting there.
Yeah, so give the so Chromebooks need to be still shut halfway because this isn't on a Chromebook. You guys are doing this on paper. Don't shut your Chromebooks all the way because you will solve an exit question in the last 5 minutes, okay? Remember, the first thing you want to do as you go through these is identify what your topic is and what type of claim it needs to be. Kira, put the phone away. Once you get caught, like you're not supposed to have, oh no, backpack. Once you're on it, when you're not supposed to be, it's backpack. So do you want me to just hold on to it then? Well, that's what hasn't happened. Why didn't you have a backpack today?
She was supposed to be out of the sea trip.
Oh, so you didn't get to go?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Weren't they going to like an observatory or something like that? Oh.
It's okay. I'm not gonna be really long. It doesn't matter.
What happened? Did you wake up late?
No, my brother takes forever to.
I see
So don't be on your phone again, okay? I'm sorry.
No, God.
Yellow card?
I looked up for like a minute. I was down there, so I looked up for a minute.
was the
There
thing
a
you
turtle, and I see a kid go.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. It was funny.
Okay, guys, focus, because I want you guys to get done so we go over it. I plan to go over it tomorrow, but I want you guys to get done. I said first thing attack your topic and your claim. And then go from there. Then decide how you would support the claim, like what types of reasons you would use. Brian, you're still gonna need this for your exit ticket. Richard, if I catch you on a video one more time, you're going to office. So you're gonna leave your computer, and I'll show you the exit question on the. Victor, are you feeling the numbers off? Are you feeling the number off or is it fine? You don't know if you did it or not? Okay. Oh, so it was done when you came. So what number is this supposed to be? That's the Chromebook card number. What number does it say? Okay. First, you decided what your topic is. Which one did you put? Okay, so what's your topic?
Alright, so I say you do this one You're correct.
Okay, so bullying as an issue, what type of specifically what type of bullying? Cyberbullying,
Alright,
okay.
I'll do the next one.
Richard, you need to wake up and pay attention. No, you're not. Head up, interacting with your group.
No, I'll do it the first one.
Okay, so cyberbullying, right? And then it asks if you, this is happening with deals, right? So that's asking, what are the solutions? Would you agree? So what things can we do to either prevent or help cyberbullying? Would you agree?
Oh my God, you're autistic.
Okay, so you've got a problem and you're going to be addressing solutions. So for your background on this.
Bro, you're not even helping.
It's like a question or.
Oh, yeah, guys, I'm sorry if that wasn't clear.
Oh my.
Your attention getter is not in your prompt. You have to create it. And you can use, here, I'll put up for you guys a list of the attention getters again. Sorry, Joseph. So that you guys can recall what like common ones are.
So we look like this.
Here's a nice little list for you guys. So you wanna pick one of those to use as an attention getter. And just practice, sorry again, Joseph. And just to practice using them. So, of course, for an intriguing fact, you may have to just make one up. And you can make up a quote by an expert for this assignment. Okay? But so what do you think you guys wanna do? Do you wanna do a description, quotation, fact, adjust the reader? So what kind of facts do you wanna do? You wanna come up with like, maybe percentage of increase in bullying, cyberbullying? Okay, so you're gonna start something like that, and then, see, should you be in your homework right now? See, where's your Chromebook at? Close it halfway. Don't close it all the way to your next question. Is it too gentle? Don't go on your phone. You look like you're going to. So background information, you would just talk about cyberbullying. Maybe talk about what it is, because you're gonna talk about solutions to that, right? So maybe talk about what it is, maybe talk about how it affects people. It does happen. That's awful, isn't it? What number did you say you were in? You guys okay? Sure? Have you figured out what the topic is? Okay, so you guys got the one, they got problem solution, so you got this is the causes. So you've got causes, right? So there you got your claim and your topic. And have you created your three causes that you want to use?
Social media.
Okay, what else? I think you cut off a lot. So, because social media is where all the cyberbullying occurs, students, right? A little bit, but mostly social media, right? Am I right or no? And you don't get a lot of cyberbullying cases sometimes, but most of it is social media, right? So what about social media makes it easier for somebody to bully? Because, okay, but don't those same people have egos out in the real world, or does the internet create a bigger, like, huh?
I think he still has a big time.
There you go, because they can hide.
Don't see.
They're behind the screen, right? And also, a lot of people that bully online would never to somebody's face say the things that they say on a text or on social media. Huh? Because there could be repercussions, good. So it eliminates direct consequences. It allows them to hide or keep a safe distance, right? And what else? You guys think of anything else? You've got two, so go with those right now. And then if you think something else, you can add it. So now you've got where you can create a thesis statement, right? So now you just have to decide what type of attention getter might be the best here. So you're talking about causes essentially. So, I think you might be best here going with like, a quotation, or like I said, you have to make it up. Or even like, an intriguing fact or statistic.
Miss Thompson! Thompson!
Say it. See, stop. Right, because that's something I wanted you to think about when you're,
So I see for this.
coming up with your closet. Don't use that as your attention getter. Create your own attention getter. That's just the prompt.
So I see answer the question or intriguing question.
Well, you can make up some intriguing statistic about, so you can say, since social media became popular,
Oh, yeah.
What?
Okay, so.
Or you can make up a statistic.
So
This is just for you to practice.
not one
You could say like, bullying about 50%, 80%, something like that. Okay? And then you could, because that's a statistic for growth, and then you can for your transitional background, say, and then you can also pose a question. You can say, what is the cause of this? And then you can say something like, social media has made it easier for people to become bullies.
I'll go back to sleep. I want to help you think.
Okay?
Wait, no. Talk.
So,
She'll be listening.
we'll see how we do. I mean, you can say yes, but if everybody's working on it.
Is that better for you?
Where we at? I don't want Anais to make everything.
Okay.
So what we think of
He's like, I will get
No, it's.
I'm like first, right? It's like, let's check this. No, it's Farquaad and Viola. I like. I thought you were.
I got his name mixed up with like Wells Fargo and
You guys
Wells
can,
Fargo. Key Wells Fargo.
and you guys are already established your topic.
I am Farquaad, the king. I'm
You guys okay?
Yeah, I was helping. We're gonna
We should all be discussing it together.
I were having a conversation about.
I'm just writing it down because I'm trying to have better.
Hold up.
How do you write
Have
your
you decided what your topic is?
I think I
Remember
have.
to create my thesis statement, your topic is what, so which topic? Okay, good. So your claim then is going to be that it does something helpful, right?
Yes, it does.
And then have you come up with your sneaky review purpose where you know what you wanna talk about as being the benefits? It's just because sometimes if you, because the reason I always tell everybody to come up with the thesis first, because sometimes that will help you, especially with this area.
Well, we'll just look at
Okay? Dylan, are you helping me or are you doing it on yourself?
I am well educated. I am well qualified. And
You guys, you finished?
Fiona.
First day.
Fiona. Very so Fiona. Very.
Y'all are just rude.
Okay, so I want you guys to have I want you
What is? I'm like,
No, like.
because I'm like a bigger thing.
I'm like, oh, happy go. I'll go.
Guys, let's take the noise level down, okay? How many groups are done? Really?
No, we already did our.
Let me see. I don't think you're done. You're probably gonna find out you're not done.
Alright, I'll show you right now.
But if you do happen to, see, let me talk. If you do happen to finish, work on the IXL, okay? Remember Z5, Z6? Work on those right up there. We do next grade. Yeah, we still have one more.
I was dressed up yesterday.
You need to talk about
No, wait.
Again, too loud. See, open your computer, work on IXL,
What?
Richard,
Yeah, like red.
if I give you a computer, you work on Excel. Huh? So Richard, I want you to go back to this here in a minute.
So,
First, up is first. There's
like this.
guys, if you want to have the door open, you need to quiet down. You're talking too loud and competing with each other. So use inside voices so that only your group really hears you. Did you get it, Emma?
Yes.
So your background, I think, is fine, but here I make up some kind of shocking statistics.
I think.
Jaquel, Leslie, and this is Jaquel too?
I was having a mental breakdown.
Oh my god. Dude,
Rain wants to
so-
come in with the house.
She just said, I'm the definition
So
of that.
let's stay at the Chromebook until we finish the cake. Okay?
oh wait, there's more.
Look at the I mean, I can't take a bed for that.
I don't know.
What am I?
I would say.
Yeah, I said, except for you.
Yeah,
When you're accidentally.
And now I have. One day.
Oh my god.
I know, right?
Instructions are and God, I hate it. Yeah, don't just hate don't you
Well, having on the East Coast, this is And Rafael too? No, put the phone to the corner. Help Adriana with this. Then you don't need to be on your phone.
I'm not gonna go to that.
Could you make sure that
Wait, that's Tom.
I did it first where you do this everyone and do this.
I can tell you how to pronounce it. Okay. The first one is
Okay, so for an attention getter, this isn't the background, this is something like this, so we're saying that there's good and bad. But as an attention getter, you need to use one of the.
Ew, no.
I haven't read that part. Brian, I'm gonna. So I want you guys to use something like this. And if you're not very research on it, I am just Joseph, Brian, so for this, now in a regular essay, you can't say something. But with this assignment, just take out the statistic. You can say, you get a 75%,
and then and then shots.
if you want to, but you're not talking about the
Well, you're not my friend. You like my friend can pronounce that QA.
prominent places. So, 75 or 95% of teens use social media. Okay? For your attention session.
Which one does that? I automatically think of because you said
Okay, so for your background, you're on the right side.
that hurts so bad. I can't feel it.
Because your essay.
No, what a dog.
Hi,
So
time
what
again.
I want you to do for your background is introduce that aspect.
Wait.
Say one, yeah.
Let's go.
Does that mean you just
Okay, wait.
And this
Blindfold.
is how
Close
you
eyes.
down here, because the negative,
Oh, God.
the negative
Close your eyes.
means
Wait.
one of this.
try to make your hands so
Yeah. I want you to say one
Come here. I'm handshake. Go like this. Go. Okay. You saw that.
Say while,
She's like,
while social media
wait, what's she like?
and,
Wait, say, let's turn it.
while social media,
You want to see her handshake?
and benefit teens by helping them stay in contact with friends and
Do you
family.
like her handshake? Don't see it.
And you
Don't
can
try
also
handshake.
have
Okay.
things, you can like meet people that you normally never meet.
It's like,
Like secret sign.
do you get it when it's from? She's so funny.
So it makes people's worlds bigger, right?
Yeah.
So say
Worse
like,
than me
say
at
action.
Wells Fargo.
So say action.
She was loud.
You can also have.
She was
Oh,
yeah, she actually was funny.
Can't
Look at my hand.
And causes would be teens not using it properly. So I want you to talk about how it would influence them, meaning negative influence in your claim. Get it?
I have this on.
What did you guys have? You did very good.
What I say? Yeah. Come here, just come here. Oh, I didn't say it. I swear. Go.
Oh, you should get.
Did somebody say my name?
Yeah.
Say my name, say my name.
Oh, you should get
See, you're stressing me out. You guys should not be on your seat.
Whoa.
Tomorrow, I better not even see a cell phone out. I do not know what's wrong with you guys today. You are not usually this bad with cell phones. Right now, everybody take your cell phone, put it in your backpack. You are no longer allowed to have them on your desk even. You guys are nuts today with
Oh,
this.
yeah?
Is it because it's the day before Valentine's Day or something?
I hate that.
Why do you guys do that?
Valentine's Day is like a celebration to belong to someone, then you can do it any other day of the year. Fuck off.
See my,
No, that's good enough.
Also, Mother's and Father's Day just
I mean, you
celebrate
talk
people
about
at birthdays.
causes. See, I always do comment
Oh.
on
It's
it.
not.
Hey,
I would never.
No.
I would never like.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I swear to God,
All
she's
the
tripping.
things get so bad.
What is your cause?
It's just a okay.
Well, that doesn't Okay, guys, did any group not finish? Yeah, we'll have a little bit of time. But you guys right now still have 10 minutes. So take 5 minutes to still work on it and then then do the extra question.
So we got the faces right. What do we do with the background? Yeah, I don't know how to do background.
So we want, Jeanette, what's your topic again?
I can put draw.
Benefits of cell phones in classroom. Okay, so you're in class and.
Took what? Come here. Hand on my life, G.
Oh, gee, I don't have to.
You having trouble, Kate?
Yeah, my hand's shaking.
Honestly, I can't face no more.
Okay, your thesis statement. First of all, does somebody have a pencil?
Then we go.
So your thesis statement, first of all, you start asking a question,
We should look at
which you don't want to do, okay? So we want to talk about how they're helpful. So you need to say something like, using cell phones in the classroom can be helpful because, and then tell me why.
Okay.
Tell me at least a couple ways it can be helpful as a sneak preview. So, I have an issue with your attention getter too, for this type of topic. We can add a question too, because that's something before. So, I might even hear, you could use a statistic if you wanted, like, how many teens own cell phones. I mean, I would say it's probably like, if we made it up, we'd have to say like 99% or something like that, right? And then you could go into like, for your background, talk about whether we like it or not. Cell phones are a part of our culture, they're not going anyplace.
What?
and then go into that they can actually be helpful. If not, like what strikes me here as an attention getter, believe it or not, that always goes in my head, is like,
Yeah.
me, it would be like, a description of a teacher telling the class to put cell phones away, and then, ask a question being like, wouldn't it be nice if this wasn't necessary? You know what I'm saying?
Wait, what is that?
You guys will have a little bit more time tomorrow to work on it. Take 5 minutes still and at least try to perfect your thesis, and then you can work on the background and stuff tomorrow. Did you guys get finished?
Yeah.
So work on iPads for 5 minutes. Or what time's your class?
That's too positive. Hey, also, let's, do you want to talk about this?
So in 9 minutes, so work on iPads
Sounds
for like 5
positive.
minutes.
I will.
Oh, boy, you gotta suck it up.
Please follow me.
This is a good song. Wait, hold up. Listen.
Isn't it what I said about phones?
Oh my god.
Look.
I keep getting recommended that fucking song.
Oh, okay.
Hold up. It's a really
So
sad
you can use
song.
the Chromebook that
Okay.
Joseph's on,
Exactly.
even though he's not supposed to be doing his like certificate.
Hold up. Hold up.
See, why aren't you with your group?
Okay.
Our group is
Listen,
on,
it's
they all bully, they all bully me.
lyrics.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. It's
No,
not
they
bullying
wouldn't do
me.
that.
So I committed suicide.
See, I know that.
Away from
that. Did you guys get it finalized?
Yeah. Ms. Thompson.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
not
getting bullied.
No one really just reading what she created. She created this on this like last
No,
week.
You wanna have a topic? And then, so your topic
That's
was.
not.
And my claim is going to be how we can solve or deal with this problem.
Oh.
Right? So you should probably focus on talking about solutions. Are you going to be talking about
Stop bullying.
team solutions to solutions, or what authority figures want? So you're going to focus it on what teams can do to deal with it, right? So you can start out with some
Yeah, but she told me to leave it in.
This is what we have remaining.
Hey,
This
not paid.
six.
Um,
We need six.
so it's something like.
I told her all that I'm.
You guys just hijacked the place. Just so you know, we need to check right there.
And my sister. My sister doing. That's how many. Wait, you can.
Take certain actions such as.
Oh, someone, something in
Wait, I think uniform at the end of the year. What do you do uniform at the end of the year? Well, you bought it, didn't you?
Well, not all bullying happens because of race. At least there would be racism. But I don't know, no, you know, human nature probably still find a way to be racist, because like I said too, it's not even about skin color, it's about different cultures, different religious beliefs, different everything. It's because people are afraid of anything that's different from what they're used to.
Oh my god, can you go like whistle, baby, whistle?
I want you to hang on to it.
That song is not about a whistle.
No, just hang on to it till home tomorrow.
That song.
Oh, yeah, I'm trusting.
Make sure whoever hangs on to it is gonna
I
be
thought you were listening to this little bit. I'm like, oh my god.
they can let something happen.
Hey, you're going by whistle, late.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Maybe.
Well, just because I really want you guys to share with the class, and, let's take a look at it. Okay, guys, don't forget to do your exit question on Google Classroom.
Oh, I have like.
Guys, let me have your attention for a minute. I want to ask you a question. I started doing the exit question, you would have noticed from yesterday, on Google Forms. Do you like that format better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or not? Okay, so how many like it better?
Do we have an extra question? Do we have
How many like the other way better? How many just don't care one way or the other?
I don't know.
Okay.
But we have to read it.
Well, that's it's a fair answer.
The extra question.
Or not really, you're getting jumped tomorrow. Take on multiple things.
And blah, 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 blah.
I didn't say it was. Okay, maybe not.